What is up and welcome back. We are your Colorado real estate family, Pete and Chelsea Sweeney, and we haven't hit on one of these in a long time. We're talking about the pros and cons of Fort Collins, Colorado.
All right, let's go.
If this is your first time watching, what we'd like to do on this channel is cover Denver and all of its surrounding cities, giving you all that information that you need to know if you plan on calling this place your new home.
So if that's what you're looking for, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time we put out a new video.
And of course, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate in the Denver metro area, give us a call or text the phone number right below. Right below right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time. Now, this one was pretty fun kind of researching for because I went back to the last time we did this video was in 2021, and I was watching a little bit, and I was like, holy crap, not only did I lose a lot of weight since then, but we have definitely gotten a little bit better on camera, I think. So I don't know, I'm just like, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm just like, God, we kind of sucked a little bit back in 2021.
Not to mention, so many things have changed when covering Fort Collins, and so we're going to be covering 5 cons, just like last time, and then going into 5 pros, some in which have changed dramatically from the last time. If you haven't seen our other video, go feel free to check it out, but this is the most up-to-date information on Fort Collins. The first con that we are going to be covering is accessibility.
Yeah, and this one's pretty similar from our last video. And so it's like if you're trying to get down into Denver, you're looking at about an hour, 20 minutes, right around there, depending on traffic. So if you do need to travel down to Denver for work, it might be a little bit hectic in those mornings and the drive back in the afternoons. If you're looking at getting down into DIA, so if you got to fly out a lot, because Fort Collins does have an airport, but it doesn't necessarily go where you need to go all the time. And so down into DIA, you're looking at about an hour and a half. If you do take the tollway, it will take about 20 minutes off of that time. If you are looking at getting into those ski slopes, we always do over to Loveland Ski, you're looking at about a 2-hour drive without traffic. If you add in that traffic, obviously it's going to be probably closer to 3 hours in order to get up into that ski resort.
Yeah, the other thing too is if you are not going the straight west and going to a ski resort close by, you are still going to be going all the way down kind of through Denver over to I-70 and then taking that up into the mountains. So this is not something that you can get, like, even though you're kind of nuzzled up into the mountains up from Fort Collins, you're not necessarily mean that you're closer to our ski resorts.
Now, the good thing about Fort Collins, it is the 4th largest city in Colorado, and so you might necessarily not have to access those things. Biggest ones being obviously the the airport. If you're traveling and having to go down to the airport, that's going to suck a little bit. If you are a skier or snowboarder, that might suck as well too. But Fort Collins has created this own hub around itself, which is nice. So you really wouldn't have to leave unless you have to access those certain things. The second thing that we're going to be covering is the road construction on I-25 going up to or coming down from Fort Collins. But I think that Chelsea actually has good news on this. I think it might be coming to an end.
Yeah, so I looked into the most recent, guys, when you're going from, say, Denver to Fort Collins, you're like, oh my God, this road construction is never going to end. And you wouldn't know otherwise unless you looked it up. So I did some deep diving for you guys to find out, like, when is this really going to end? So this was a $750 million project from, say, Johnstown to Fort Collins. Now, good news is this is the 5th year that this has been in, and hopefully the final, because that portion of this is supposed to be finishing mid to late December of 2023. Guys, this year, this quarter, this might be kind of completing. Now, that does not mean that the whole project is going to be complete. We are expecting the other portion of the project, say Johnstown to Berthoud, to be completed in like the first half of 2024. Now, the good news is because it's going to be completed, it hopefully will help on the traffic side, but the toll testing and the cleanup and all of that is expected to go into 2024 and on to get that all cleaned up and making it look beautiful. So will it look pretty right away? No, but will it be functional? God hope so, because this has been a project that a lot of the locals and even people who are commuting to and from Denver for work or things like that or just for play are going to be ecstatic about, because now we're going to have these new toll lanes and all this beautiful road going up to Fort Collins. The third con of Fort Collins is going to be that it is a college town.
Yeah, and this could be one of those things, I mean, we've had some of you who have actually loved the fact that it was a college town because you want to take some more educational courses. Great, you have it right there. But most people who are planning on moving to Fort Collins are like, do I want to be dealing with the parties? Do I want to be dealing with that school year traffic or, the congestion that comes with that? When you're going out to restaurants, that's what a lot of people don't think about. It's like, when you hit lunchtime, it's going to hit lunchtime like crazy
Yes.
with all those college students coming in, eating in that downtown Fort Collins. So a lot of people are like, they're kind of mixed on it, right? But we found that probably about 75% of you do not like the fact that it is a college town because of what comes with the college students and what's happening in downtown Fort Collins.
Now, with all of our cons, though, you know, a lot of people who are choosing Fort Collins for, say, retirement or trying to get to that kind of outdoor thing, which we'll talk about later, the good thing is that there is a lot of that congestion does stay in the downtown Fort Collins area, but because it's there, they don't get to take advantage of that downtown area that they really like that Fort Collins has to offer. But we are going to be covering how there is some pros around this, so stick around when we get into the pros.
The fourth con that we're going to be covering is forest fires. The good thing about this, though, is that we have not experienced it as bad as we did in like 2020, 2021. It was horrible up there. I remember we were recording. I was trying to get some like drone footage all around, and the smoke was super thick. We just really haven't seen it as much this year, but it is something that is recurring, does often happen up in Fort Collins.
Now, we do have to talk about, even though this is a con, and will probably continue to be a con just because the proximity to the mountains, we do need to talk about an update on this, because the last time that we were talking about this, and since it has been a couple years, I think it's important to understand the like incentives around making this better, even though it's still continually a con. Now, real quick, I have to tell you this because I did look up because we knew, we're like, it hasn't been as smoky, like what's going on? Back in 2022, there was 835 fires. This year in 2023, and what are we in, September? Oh my gosh, September. Peter just had a birthday, so if you're a Peter lover fan, down below, comment happy birthday for him because he just shared his birthday this last weekend. But we had 835 fires in 2022. We had 9 this year, which is incredible. Another thing is Elena needed us to touch on this because she is our northern expert and she keeps us all up to date with all the new things that are going on. She has been part of this committee in Loveland specifically, which is the WUI. I was like, Elena, oh my gosh, what is that? Right? I wrote it down. It's Wildland Herbal Interference. So what she told us, though, that Fort Collins and actually Loveland, Fort Collins, and all the other cities are getting involved in is the fire department and all of the city initiatives are geared around this whole when the, you know, outdoor areas that are underdeveloped meet urban lifestyle and how to protect against, like, you know, new homes and construction and also even grandfather and older homes for safety. So I'm not going to go into this too much. We're going to put a ton of resources down below in the comment section for you guys to look at, but there are a ton of initiatives going into all the different fire departments on how to make this better. I hope and pray that that is why we're seeing these decrease in fires. The other thing is with those 9 fires, let's see, 9 minus 2 is 7. 7 of them were actually caused from lightning. 2 of them unknown. So these are just kind of freak accidents, and we haven't seen anything that was led from camping or any of the things because of the new restrictions in place.
Yeah, guys, these protections have really gone on steroids ever since the Marshall Fire did happen down in Superior Boulder area. A lot of these Front Range cities, even though they haven't experienced the fires that they did, you know, in a long time, they're like, you know, we should still put stuff in place in case something like that does happen. So it's good to see a lot of these cities, Fort Collins being one of them, putting stuff in place to help prevent or keep something like the Marshall Fire happening again in their city.
I feel like we had to touch on the positive of this fire because so many of you are like, I don't know, like after it just caused a lot of fear in moving to our beautiful cities that are nuzzled up to the mountains like Fort Collins. So we do always keep an eye on what those initiatives are doing. So we did have to, like, even though it's a con, it's still a con. We still have fires. We're going to always have fires. We have our beautiful Rocky Mountains that are caused by lightning and stuff. We can't, you know, change those things, but what we can change is what we're doing about it.
The 5th con about Fort Collins is going to be the water resources that are supplied up there. Unfortunately, we do have droughts from time to time in Colorado. Those do affect the water resources up in Fort Collins. Also, what people don't think about is when you do have those fires that are up above in the mountains above these cities, that pollutes the water a little bit, and so it tampers down on the water resources that are coming down into Fort Collins. We actually had a water moratorium up in Fort Collins with all the development and stuff that was happening that has since been raised, but Fort Collins did have to do a moratorium there for a little bit on building to make sure that those water resources were not getting depleted, that the residents were still being supplied through all of it.
Now, I deep dove again for you guys, like the nerd I am, just trying to figure out, like, where are we at with it, right? Like, how do we know and how do we track that? And that's not something that I'm an expert in, but what I did find as a resource for you guys, I did see we have charts on the website saying, like, what our demand versus our supply is. Right now, in 2023, the most recent report is showing the water demand at 88%. The other thing that they're tracking is the Thompson River and all of the water supply that we're getting, which is showing at 70%. When I looked into, guys, when you're like, Chelsea, what does that mean? I'll be honest, I don't know exactly. What I did is I clicked on all of these. I've also provided a visual for you here and a link down below for you guys to go and kind of investigate yourself. But there are report after report pretty much showing, as of right now, we're in September 2023, that we actually do have plenty of supply for the demand in this current year. All right, enough about all the horrible things of Fort Collins, because let's be real, Fort Collins has way more to offer than the cons. So let's start with the first one, which is going to be...
Fort Collins has consistently been rated one of the top places to live by livability.com. And so like in 2020, it was actually rated #1. This year, it kind of took a little bit of a dip back in 2022 and came back up. It's in the top 100 for livability's top places to live. And this is always one of those things. So it's like Fort Collins, Boulder. Yeah, I even saw Broomfield made the list.
Broomfield on there.
I was like, Broomfield's moving up.
Go
what?
check out a Broomfield video. We
Yeah.
cover Broomfield a lot.
What this just means is, like, overall, what so many people know is that Fort Collins is just a fantastic place to live.
Yeah, and Fort Collins is known for like its culture, and even this is kind of like a little bonus and why it has like the best livability and why people kind of gravitate towards the city is the culture. Like it is, even though it is bigger, it's not like big compared to like some of our other Colorado cities, but even though it is bigger and we have all the amenities that you could possibly need in Fort Collins, it does have like a small town culture that people want to be part of. The old town, all of the different things that Fort Collins has to offer makes this livability so believable. Like when you're up there, you're like, oh duh, like this is why everyone wants to be here. So that culture plays a huge role in this livability factor.
The second pro into Fort Collins is the activities and recreation that they got up there, and it's just, I mean, it's unbeatable. They got platinum bike trails up there.
Yeah, I think when we were looking into, we bike, right? But we like don't bike, like we're like pretend bikers.
We're not like those people with like the super hardcore bikes. Like my bike, I'm on the roads with shocks. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do that, but I do it anyways.
Yeah, but if you are a biker, you will know that Fort Collins is this platinum rating and it's a big deal, and they have all kinds of things around biking that makes it such a wonderful place for bikers to live. Now that's not it, right? If you are a rock climber, if you want to go on the river and do all of your kayaking and your whitewater rafting, like I mean, I'm telling you, you have everything. You've got Horsetooth and you know, so if you want the lake
life is huge up there, guys. I'm telling you. I mean, I know we say it so many times, but like you see a lot of people, they have their boats and they deck them out nice, you know, because they're like going out on Horsetooth, go down to Carter. They do all these lake life activities, and that is something that's huge into the culture of Fort Collins.
Say you're like, Chelsea, I don't want to go do any of those things. I just want to have a beer. Great. Guess what? Fort Collins is for you also. Like they have the breweries. Like it's also like a huge brewery scene. And I don't know about you guys, but the brewery scene is like, I don't know, just like the best culture ever. Like laid back. Everyone's there to have a good time. Everyone's like, hey, who are you? Nice to meet you. Like they'll spend all evening, all the events around it. And it's just such a like family feel when you're going to like, I call them brewsters because we don't actually drink beer, and we still like to go to breweries because the culture is so nice.
Yeah, they usually have like parks and stuff for the kids and all that, and so it's like they have made it a little bit more family friendly. It's like the new age bar, right? Like back in the days, like you never brought your kid to a bar, and now it's like, oh man, that you see that brewery put up that brand new playground and stuff. We got to go check that out. They have some great food. They have food trucks out there, and so they've incorporated all this stuff into the scene of the breweries, and so now you can kind of do those things with your family, and Fort Collins is huge with doing all that.
Say you don't have kids and you like are a pet lover, great. Take your pets to
your
the
fur
like,
babies.
Yeah, like your fur babies can go to the breweries too. Like there's a lot that are very pet friendly, including some of the restaurants. As far as like getting outdoors, eating outdoors, playing outdoors, you will not get anything better besides maybe Boulder than Fort Collins. All right, the third pro is going to be, these are all no-brainers really, but it's like if you don't know Fort Collins, you have to know these things. Schools. This is rated A, and I'm not just like the whole district is rated A. What is it? Poudre Valley School District. Yes. And it's not just like, if you look at we always tell people, don't just look at the district. Like you need to break it down further than that because all of Fort Collins is in Poudre Valley. So like you need to know where you live and what schools are around you. But in Fort Collins, you have so many options of A and B schools. Majority of them are A and B schools. You can't really go wrong with that. There's a couple C-rated schools. I'll pop up a map here so you can kind of see the overall. But you have so many choices, whereas some of the other smaller cities, when there are multiple school districts or smaller school districts, you may only have two to choose from, whereas in Fort Collins that is not the case.
Yeah, guys, when you were moving here and you're constantly saying, hey, I have to have someone that has great schools, there's only a handful of places where like you gotta check out this place, you gotta check out this place, you gotta check out this place, and we kind of always have those top of mind, where Poudre Valley is one of those that we always mention when you are relocating into Colorado.
The fourth pro is going to be cost of living. Now, most of the time when people are looking at Fort Collins, they are comparing it to, say, Boulder or Denver and just trying to figure out like where do they want to be. Well, if you're looking at overall cost of living, Fort Collins is going to be 116. So national average is 100. Anything above 100 is going to be more expensive. Anything below is going to be less expensive. It's sitting at a 116. But Denver, on the other hand, is at 127. And just so you know, because Colorado as a whole overall is 120. So Denver's slightly higher than that, and Fort Collins is lower than Denver. That will sometimes alone steer people towards Fort Collins because you can get more bang for your buck.
Yeah, and this is something, guys, that is, I mean, it's closing fast.
Yeah.
Fort Collins, when we talked about it probably 3 years ago, that was a much different number. It was way cheaper than Denver, and as it started to blow up, everything kind of started going up a little bit, mainly your real estate. How much is that number close? So if we're looking at your median sales price as of, I think it was August of 2023, I can't remember if it's August or September, those numbers always kind of get thrown all over. You got a median sales price of $544,000. Quick note on that is your attached and your detached products lumped into one sum. If we're going over into Denver, you got a median sales price of $565,000. That number has closed so much in the last couple of years. It blows my mind that now the houses, the median sales price is so much higher in Fort Collins as it was, like, say, back in 2020.
The other cool thing I just have to touch on with housing with Fort Collins as a pro is because of the growth and because the desirability of living there, there really is a product for everyone. So if you are downtown and you're looking for that old Victorian style house or something like a little bit smaller in square footage with all of the character, you're gonna find it. If you go a little bit further towards the mountains, you're looking for more of that custom home nestled up in like little foothills or close to, you know, some golfing or trails going up into the mountains, like you're gonna find it. Now what we've seen is Fort Collins kind of spreading south and east towards I-25. You're going to get all of your newer product where it, you know, you can start at a lower range and then build up based off of how customized you want that home and what those builders offer. So it is nice now that Fort Collins does have a ton of different options, which play into kind of like this price point of it going up, as we are starting to see some nice new communities coming up that are raising some of those prices. All right, let's talk about health. Now, this is something that I find really reassuring. Now, are you going to get the same amount of options as Denver? Absolutely not. But Fort Collins has a lot of great options. If you're looking at the cost of healthcare, it's going to be $87 over in Fort Collins, whereas Denver is going to be sitting at $84. So even though Denver has a lot more options, you would think that that would kind of hyperinflate the options in Fort Collins, and that's just not the case. And considering the fact that both Denver and Fort Collins are, you know, in the 80s versus the national average being at 100, shows that we have really good healthcare options regardless of the city you land in.
And the final cost of living I want to cover was your transportation, and mainly just because there was such a wide gap between these two. If you're looking at transportation in Fort Collins, it's at 87.6, where if you go down into Denver, it's a 116.1. That's a huge difference. Biggest contributing factor to that is going to be your gas prices, and then also any of those repair costs for your automobiles, car insurance, and stuff like that. So it's just crazy to think that, I know that gas prices when you go up to Fort Collins, they do seem like they are much cheaper as opposed to like the Denver metro area, but it's just crazy to think that it's that much different in regards to your transportation.
Well, the other thing too is, you know, Denver has all the light rails and stuff, which you would think would decrease the cost.
You would think so, though. Yeah, the public transit.
And Fort Collins is still beating them in transportation costs.
Yeah.
Now, the fifth and final pro of Fort Collins is going to be the employment opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of employment opportunities, whether you're looking at techs or you're, you know, looking over at Hewlett Packard's up there. You got Otterbox's up there. You got Odell Brewing, so you have all the different breweries that are in and around Fort Collins. So say that if you do want to live in Fort Collins and find that job instead of having to commute down into like Denver in order to work in that tech sector, there's definitely plenty of options that are up in Fort Collins.
Yeah, the other thing too is when we were down in downtown Fort Collins or Old Town Fort Collins, we were actually talking to a gal who works with the city of Fort Collins, and their big initiatives when we were down there were to bring small businesses into Fort Collins and make it more robust employment opportunities for not only the people there, but the people who are coming in to Colorado so they choose Fort Collins. So it's nice to know. I mean, she came over and just talked to us, and she was like, hey, like, let us know if you ever need any resources. We're really trying to build, you know, the local businesses and things here in Fort Collins to just thrive in our market. So I really love the fact that she kind of made an initiative to come to us, working for the city, and what they're doing for, you know, small businesses to come and live there instead of Denver. So, all right, we have covered 5 cons, 5 pros. We've given you the most up-to-date information on Fort Collins Pros and Cons 2023. If this is stuff that you are liking, please hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time that we put out a new video.
And of course, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate in the beautiful state of Colorado today, more specifically, we're talking about Fort Collins, give us a call or text the phone number right below. Right below right there, we always answer. It doesn't matter day or time. Until next time, we love you. Bye.
Bye.
Fort Collins is a Fort Collins is a fantastic. Fort Collins is a fantastic.
I feel like it should be like it's like a remix.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Ooh, boom, boom. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Fort Collins overall is a fantastic place to live. What?
All of that? That's all
Yes.
you were trying to get out?
Because I was getting mixed up with Fort Collins and fantastic.
Oh. Wow.